From music icon to a man facing life in prison, P. Diddy, once at the top of the entertainment world, is now at the center of a federal investigation involving sex trafficking, racketeering, and a shocking criminal empire. What happened? How did it come to this? And what lies ahead for one of hip-hop's biggest names? Buckle up. This is going to be a deep dive into the scandal that's shaking the world of music, fame, and power. Let's rewind to the beginning. For months, rumors circulated in the entertainment industry and media that something massive was about to hit the Diddy empire. Those whispers became louder when, in March 2024, federal agents raided two of Diddy's homes, one in Los Angeles and another in Miami. At the time, no one knew exactly what they were looking for, but it was clear that Diddy was the target of a major investigation. The press covered the raids in passing, but few grasped the full magnitude of what was happening behind the scenes. The truth was, federal authorities were quietly piecing together a case so shocking, so damning, that it would eventually rock the entire music world. The tipping point came in November of 2023, when Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, known to many as Cassie, filed a devastating lawsuit against him. Cassie accused Diddy of subjecting her to years of sexual abuse, physical violence, and emotional manipulation. The lawsuit was filled with horrifying allegations, describing a man obsessed with control, power, and domination. And just as quickly as the lawsuit was filed, it was settled. The next day, in fact. Now think about that for a moment. The lawsuit was dropped within 24 hours. What does that tell you? It seemed like a move to silence Cassie, a way to keep the ugly details out of the public eye. But instead of burying the scandal, the settlement had the opposite effect. It opened the floodgates. Other women began coming forward with similar stories. Civil suits piled up, each one more shocking than the last. The government took notice, and so did the media. Fast forward to the night of Diddy's arrest. It was a Monday evening in September 2024. The location? The luxurious Park Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan. But this wasn't the glamorous life Diddy was used to. This time, federal agents weren't coming to party. They were coming to take him in. Diddy had been staying at the hotel for over a week, anticipating what was about to unfold. His defense team later revealed that he had voluntarily relocated to New York to await the charges. But the authorities didn't wait for him to turn himself in. They arrested him that night. And then, the charges were finally unsealed, and the full scope of Diddy's alleged crimes was laid bare for the world to see. He was indicted on 3 major counts: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These are the kinds of charges you usually hear in cases involving organized crime, not a music mogul. So, what exactly did Diddy do to face these severe allegations? To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to take a closer look at the indictment. Prosecutors allege that Diddy didn't just commit isolated crimes. They say he led a criminal enterprise. This is important because it paints a picture of Diddy as the head of a deeply organized network. A network that used his business, his fame, and his employees to further his criminal activities. Think of it as a web of manipulation and control, with Diddy at the center. According to the indictment, Diddy's criminal enterprise wasn't just about money or fame. It was about control. Control over the women he allegedly trafficked. Control over his employees, who prosecutors say were complicit in his illegal activities. And most disturbingly, control over those who dared to stand in his way. The most shocking revelation? The so-called freak-offs. Now, this is where the story takes a truly dark turn. The indictment alleges that Diddy orchestrated elaborate sex parties known as freak-offs. These were no ordinary parties. According to prosecutors, these were multi-day events where women were coerced into performing sexual acts, often under the influence of drugs like ketamine and GHB. The women, many of whom Diddy allegedly manipulated by offering career opportunities or financial support, were kept in line with threats, intimidation, and violence. The details are chilling. Diddy's employees allegedly facilitated these events, booking hotel rooms, flying in commercial sex workers, and even cleaning up after the parties. And it didn't stop there. Diddy reportedly kept videos of the sex acts, secretly filming the women to use as blackmail. And the evidence? Federal agents found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant during the raids on Diddy's homes. That's not something you can easily explain away. But these parties weren't just for Diddy's pleasure. They were, according to prosecutors, a key part of the larger criminal enterprise. The indictment makes it clear that these freak-offs were central to Diddy's alleged control over his victims and his employees. But that's just the beginning. The charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution are just the surface of a much deeper and more sinister story. What does it mean when someone is charged with racketeering? In Diddy's case, it means that prosecutors believe he led an organized criminal operation. This isn't just about a series of bad decisions. It's about a coordinated, ongoing criminal effort. The indictment describes a criminal enterprise that spanned over a decade, dating back to 2008. And it wasn't just about sex trafficking. The list of crimes associated with this enterprise includes forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, and even arson. One of the most startling allegations involves kidnapping. The indictment claims that in 2011, Diddy and an associate kidnapped an individual at gunpoint. Why? To break into that person's home. And just 2 weeks later, that same associate allegedly set fire to the victim's car by throwing a Molotov cocktail into it. This wasn't just petty crime. This was a campaign of intimidation and control that stretched across years. The racketeering charge paints Diddy as a man who wasn't just indulging in illegal activities for personal pleasure. He was running a criminal enterprise, using violence and coercion to keep everyone around him under his thumb. Now, let's talk about the evidence. Prosecutors aren't walking into this case empty-handed. According to court filings, they have mountains of evidence, and it's damning. They've interviewed over 50 victims and witnesses, many of whom directly experienced or witnessed Diddy's abusive behavior. These witnesses' accounts corroborate one another, painting a consistent and terrifying picture of Diddy's actions. But it doesn't stop there. Federal agents also seized 90 electronic devices from Diddy's homes and those of his associates: laptops, cell phones, hard drives, and even surveillance footage. They believe that some of this electronic evidence contains videos of the so-called freak-offs, further proving the allegations of sex trafficking and coercion. On top of that, investigators found illegal firearms in Diddy's homes, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers. These weapons, according to prosecutors, were used to intimidate Diddy's victims and keep them under control. If all of that wasn't enough, prosecutors are also accusing Diddy of attempting to obstruct justice. In their filings, they claim that Diddy tried to bribe a hotel security guard after he was caught on video assaulting Cassie Ventura in 2016. The video, which shows Diddy dragging and kicking her, was apparently erased from the hotel's servers just days after the incident. But by then, it was too late. The video had already made its way to the media. And that's not the only instance of obstruction. Prosecutors say that after the lawsuits were filed, Diddy made multiple phone calls to his victims, trying to convince them to change their stories. He allegedly fed them false narratives, trying to rewrite the past and cover up his crimes. This isn't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about a network of manipulation, control, and coercion that spanned years. And now, it's all coming to light. What's next for Diddy? So, what happens next? Diddy is currently being held without bail, as prosecutors successfully argued that he is a flight risk and a danger to the community. His defense team offered a $50 million bail package, putting up his Miami mansion as collateral, but the judge wasn't convinced, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Diddy faces a minimum of 15 years in prison. But with the charges against him, it's very possible that he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. The Southern District of New York has made it clear that they're not done yet. This investigation is ongoing, and more charges could be on the way. What we're witnessing is the possible end of an empire. A man who once held the keys to New York City is now facing the possibility of losing everything: his fortune, his freedom, and his legacy. But as we've seen in the past, Diddy is a man who fights. His legal team is gearing up for a battle, and they're claiming that he's innocent, that these allegations are exaggerated, and that he will clear his name in court. But with the evidence stacked against him, and more victims likely to come forward, the question remains, can Diddy really escape this? Or is this the final chapter in the life of one of music's most powerful icons? This is a story that's still unfolding, with new details emerging every day. We'll be keeping a close eye on every development, and we'll update you as soon as there's more to share. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest breaking news.